Hey guys, we are on chapter 9. Only 2 more chapters to go. Chapter 9 is titled, Don't Give Up. Annie, said Jack. Over here, she called. Jack followed 2 figures standing in the twilight. He walked over to Annie and Clara. They all stared in the direction of the distant battlefield. Bright lights flashed against the dark blue horizon, cannon shells exploding. Every time you see a flash, you know a shell may have taken a life, or many lives, said Clara. That's awful, said Annie. Yes, it is, said Clara. A whole world can vanish in a flash, all a young man's joys and sorrows, all his memories. This is a cruel war, said Annie. All wars are cruel, said Clara Barton. People feel they must fight for causes they believe in, but they soon discover that war is not about glory and fame. It's about misery and terrible pain and sadness. It makes me miss my mom and dad, said Annie. It makes me really miss them. Annie sounded tired and homesick. Finally, she had lost her cheerfulness. I think it's time for you 2 to go home, said Clara. Jack thought of all the wounded men who needed food and water and kindness and comfort. No, Jack said, we have to stay. We can't give up on them. That's on the list. Don't give up. Jack pulled out their list to show Clara Barton. Oh, yes, she said, nodding. I see one of my nurses has written down the things I often say. Let me add one thing more. Do not forget the ones who love you. Jack heaved a big sigh. He was homesick, too. Can we keep the list? He asked. Of course, said Clara. You don't have to work in a hospital to follow my words. They work in all of life, no matter where you go. Thanks, said Jack. So here's Jack and Annie talking to Clara, and you see the smoke in the background. My thanks to you both, said Clara Barton. You were great helpers. You were a great teacher, said Annie. Goodbye, said Clara Barton. Be very careful going home. We will, said Jack and Annie. Bye. The sun was setting as they walked out of camp. The boom of the cannons sounded in the distance. Soldiers sang a song around a campfire. And this is the song that they sang. We're tenting tonight on the old campground. Give us a song to cheer our weary hearts, a song of home and friends we love so dear. Jack and Annie walked through the darkening field. By the time they reached the woods, the stars were out. They climbed up the rope ladder to the treehouse. Annie grabbed the Pennsylvania book. Wait, said Jack. He looked out the window. He couldn't see anything below, but the soldier's song still carried through the warm, starry night. Many are the hearts that are weary tonight, wishing for the war to cease. And cease means to stop. So he's saying they're wishing for the war to cease, so they're wishing for the war to stop, for it to be over. As Jack listened, he thought of Clara Barton, the elderly slave, the young Confederate soldier, and John, the drummer boy. War is not a game, Jack said softly. It is definitely not a game. Many are the hearts looking for the right to see the dawn of peace. So that's the rest of the song. The song ended, the cannon fire stopped. The night was quiet except for the croaking of frogs. Ready? Annie whispered. Ready, said Jack. I really wish we could go home, Annie said, pointing to the picture of Frog Creek Woods. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. So that's the end of chapter 9. I want to show you a couple more pictures from our book, a couple more photos. And then you also have a worksheet for chapter 9, and it's a fill in the blank. So it has sentences up at the top that say things like, Clara said every time there was a blank, it meant a blank took lives. So then you look at the bottom and you have choices of words like war, love, give, gain, believe, flash, fight. So use the word list at the bottom to fill in the blanks of the sentences at the top. And these all go with chapter 9, the chapter that we just read. So you're gonna fill in those blanks And then we'll show you a couple more photos here. If you guys remember, some of you had a handwriting exercise for the Civil War that talked about the different people, and you did some letter tracing. Everyone had the poster of the North and the South side. So General Lee was on your poster. You had a little photograph. And this is a photograph here from Arlington, Virginia, former residence of General Robert E. Lee. So this is where he lived. It was a big, fancy house. Okay. And here, this is a photograph that says President Abraham Lincoln with General George McClellan and other Union officers at Antietam, Maryland, October 1862. So if you look, you'll see someone wearing a tall hat, which we read about Abraham Lincoln's hat, so you can spot him. If you look in the picture, you can spot Abraham Lincoln. Do you see him in his tall hat where he used to keep all his papers? Okay. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and do your fill in the blank worksheet, and tomorrow we'll finish the book.